Now, 40% of all new cases of female genital mutilation, or FGM, are reported here in London. However, campaigners fear that a lack in adequate data collection is masking a much larger problem. They say that the actual number of cases is in fact much higher. I should warn you, you may find some of the content in Franklin McCamney's report disturbing.
Hodder was just 7 years old when her and her younger sister were taken to the old lady in her Somalian village who cut them.
For us, it was something that we talked about. It wasn't something that was hidden because I thought every single woman around the world will actually have FGM. Once you had it done, 2 weeks, it takes 2 weeks to heal. And after the 2 weeks, they just say, now you're a woman, go and play a run.
But after a few years, that procedure left her extremely unwell. She had to undergo multiple operations in Somalia before being sent to Europe for further care. Now in schools trying to teach children about FGM, Hodder still has struggles of her own. When she tried to conceive, there were further complications.
I miscarried the day before my first scan, and from there I ended up in intensive care unit.
So that operation that you had when you were 7 years old has affected your entire life?
So it's not just it affected me all of my life. It literally take away my chance to be a mom. No one have that right to take that right from me.
Have you ever been able to forgive your family members for allowing you to be cut?
I always forgiven my mom, especially because my dad never wanted us to have it done. But it was my mom. The reason my mom has done it is society. My mom was a survivor. My grandmother was a survivor. All the women before me were survivors. The good thing is, I am the last one to be cut in our family. For me, yes, my sickness has made my family to stop practicing FGM.
Figures show 40% of all new cases of FGM are spotted right here in the capital. Hodder runs an FGM clinic in Archway. Every week she helps around 6 women. She wants more training in early education and in the community to help with prevention.
The statistic shows children are kept from age of 8 to 9. So if you catch early on, that child will know this is wrong to be done to them. Do you understand? So I want that kind of training to be done in early childhood education.
Many, she sees, don't even know they've had anything done to them.
They don't have any recollection because they were cut as an infancy, maybe 7 days old, maybe baby, so the mother never disclosed that to them.
As for Hodder, she's using her voice to try to raise awareness in communities in London and will be heading back to Africa soon in the hope of making a difference there too.
Well, we're joined now by Sema Gornal, CEO of the Vavengers, a campaign group seeking to eradicate FGM practices and supporting survivors. Sema, welcome to you. Thanks very much for being with us. Tell us a bit more about your work, what you do and what people are saying to you about this practice.
So we provide direct support services across London. We do pop-up hubs and meet women and girls and support them with any services that they may need by collaborating with government organisations, charities, local authorities, bridging the gap. But we also, once we identify serious issues coming to us by, let's say, 100 women, then we do communicate that back to government. And One Question campaign that we're running is just a great example of that. We've identified a major healthcare crisis facing FGM survivors. That means we are not asking women in this country if they've survived FGM. This is sexual abuse, this is healthcare crisis, and it's exactly like a pandemic happening behind the closed doors. We need to ask every single woman, regardless of their racial background, age, removing that assumption basically, so that we actually know the real numbers, because currently we are not sure of how many survivors are there out there.
What kind of numbers do you think there are?
Well, we think it's not the 137,000 on the gov.uk or NHS websites that we are seeing, because collaboratively across the other FGM ending charities, we've supported more women and girls than that, and we are seeing new cases like the last prosecution that's happened. A teacher asked that question, very great practice to ask somebody, and then the conversation led to a successful prosecution. So because we are not asking, actually the short answer, I'm not sure how many survivors there are out there. I come from a performing country where NHS shows. I'm from Turkey. In Turkey it's being practiced, it's being performed, and nobody asked me, not my GP, not at my workplace.
So who do you think should be asking? Where does the responsibility lie for this question to be asked? Where is it appropriate?
We think it should be added on the NHS data sets, because on average an FGM survivor reported us that they have been asked at a healthcare appointment, either a GP appointment, a drop-in sexual health clinic, maternity clinic. All of these appointments are quite crucial. And if we just normalize this question and just ask every single woman at their visit, whether it's the first visit they are having or a regular checkup, then we are removing that bias and understanding how many survivors are out there.
And this is actually happening here in London, isn't it, this practice? How widespread do you think it is? In which communities?
Well, actually, it's happening globally. It's happening here in the UK. And we found out that it's happening to Turkish women. It's happening to, girls who are born in this country. It's happening to across many, many countries. And we know this is not cultural. It has no ties to religion because it predates religion. And it's to put simply, it's sexual abuse.
But isn't there certain communities that are more prone to it?
Yeah, of course, there are some countries' data are larger than other countries. We know that it's more widespread, to be more correct. But because we're not asking the question, again, because there's that lack of data, we don't actually know, which is the problem.
Okay, and Clive, this is a serious issue in your community, in your patch, isn't it?
In our borough, yes, it is. Wales is one of the boroughs that's identified as having a high number of young people are at risk, and it's shocking to hear what Sema's saying about how widespread it is. I'm learning more about it just listening to her today, and I felt I was reasonably well informed about what's going on, and that is really alarming. And this practice is sexual abuse. There's no question about that. But the idea that something that has no benefit whatsoever in any way whatsoever, is no connection to anything religious or anything else, but is still practiced in this by so many people, it is absolutely shocking. And I think Sema's right to be asking for those in a position to do so to ask the right questions so that we can learn more about what's going on.
Teresa, FGM is illegal, of course, in this country. It's been illegal for more than 20 years. Is the government doing enough? Is policy in the right place here? Because Sema's saying we need to ask more questions. We need to understand the numbers in order to help people.
It is just such a repulsive practice, the worst possible form of violence against women and abuse that you could really imagine. I'm sure there is more work to do. We did legislate in 2015 to give more help to survivors with protection orders issued and a mandatory reporting requirement. But clearly, listening to Sema, it makes me absolutely convinced that we need to have a strong focus on those diaspora communities in London with links to countries where these practices are prevalent, so we can do everything we can to protect young women and girls. And also, I know our overseas aid budget has a strong focus on FGM and trying to deal with the problem in the countries where it's happening.
Sema, you mentioned a prosecution a few moments ago. Somebody a teacher asked a question, it led to a prosecution. Can you give us some general advice as to the right questions that people should ask, who should be asking those questions, and how then a prosecution is perhaps secured?
Well, the responsibility mainly lies with anyone who's in a caregiving position. Teachers, I would say, they need to be informed. Nurses, midwives, GPs, healthcare professionals. Anywhere where we have women or girls visiting, spending a bit of time outside their houses, they should be asked these questions. And I think these professionals are really, really important and key in identifying FGM.
Yeah, and how difficult is it to get a prosecution?
I think highly difficult, and I would say it's because I don't believe, I just became British as well. I don't believe as British people we don't quite get this issue because survivors are quite isolated, and it's only recently that the stories are coming up. 2015, that was a great legislative change. We're really proud of that work that we've done with the government. Now, as the Vavengers charity, we are collaborating with Home Office, FCDO, Crown Prosecution Service, Metropolitan Police. We as a charity choose to collaborate with these organisations because we believe that there's a lack of understanding, and they have acknowledged that with reports like Baroness Casey. We've seen there's a lack of understanding of overall violence against women and girls or equality in this country. That's why we choose to collaborate and basically change things from within. So there's a more positive outlook for hundreds of thousands of women and girls living in this country.
Okay, Sema, really interesting to get your thoughts. Thank you very much for coming in and telling us a bit more about this. Thank you.